this video, we'll be talking about 6 mistakes you must avoid when making your bread at home. Normally, the ingredients you use in making your bread are usually your flour, your butter, your sugar, your salt, milk, or your liquid, which could be milk or water. Then your yeast. Talking about yeast, don't add too much yeast to your bread recipe. Do you know why? The yeast will not increase the size of your bread. Though. It will cause your bread to be too light and it will collapse. Though yeast help your bread to proof, I know that, but too much of it will do the opposite. It won't proof it. You will have a collapsed dough in the oven. So too much of yeast is not nice. Normally, if you're going for 2.5 cup, do not use more than half tablespoon of yeast, or at most 1 tablespoon, depending on how active your yeast is. Now, when you're adding your liquid, be it your water or your milk, do not add too much liquid. Do not make this mistake of adding too much liquid. That is where you have spoiled your bread already. Normally, when you mix your liquid, when you're adding liquid to your dough, add in bits like what you can see here, so that you can get your dough together. Why do you need to add in bits? You want your dough to be as hard and as firm as possible. The harder and the firmer your dough, the better. Because after proofing, your dough is going to get softer. So if it becomes so soft, when it proofs and it becomes softer, it is easy for it to collapse and your bread will not be firm. You wouldn't want that. Another mistake you must not make when making your bread at home is please knead. Do not skip kneading. I know you have watched videos that said no knead bread on YouTube, but even if it's a little bit, there is no way you make your bread without kneading. Even mixing your ingredients in your dough is also kneading. Just go on to knead for like 5 minutes. Normally when you mix your bread, it is this way, very rough, but kneading helps it to smoothen a bit. So at least knead for 5 minutes. Do not make this mistake. It will help your ingredients to be fully incorporated in your dough, and it will give your dough this smooth look and texture. Who wouldn't want a nice looking dough? Even if you can go for 15 or 20 minutes, which is the recommended time, to give your bread a very stretchy and attractive look like the one of store-bought or the ones you get from the store, you can go for 5 minutes. Since it's homemade bread, you don't want to stress yourself, so I understand. Another mistake you must not make is when proofing, check your environment, especially if you live in an environment that the weather is cold. You want to make sure you place your dough in a warm environment. Make sure you proof in a warm environment. This will help your proofing to be faster and quicker, and you won't have to sit for 3 hours waiting for your dough to proof. You wouldn't want that. What I suggest is keep your dough in an oven after you've heated it for 5 minutes. Then you can proof it there if you are in a cold environment. Then, my dear, your pan, don't even make this mistake. This mistake can make you say, Kai, oh my God, what have I done? Make sure you grease your pan with either butter or vegetable oil. This will help your bread slide out easily after baking. Do not skip that. Grease your pan. Don't even joke with it. The wahala of taking your bread out of the pan after making a good bread, but it now starts scattering into pieces. I don't want you to scream, oh my God. So do not skip greasing your pan. You can either grease with butter alone or grease with vegetable oil and sprinkle a little bit of flour. Abby, if you are already to this point and you haven't subscribed, do subscribe to Debbie's Kitchen, do like and share, do comment and tell me what you think about these mistakes that we make at home when making our bread. I know you've learned one or two things from this video. Comment and tell me. I really need to hear your feedback. So this is me. My bread has proofed. I've greased my pan. I've dotted my I's and crossed my T's till this point. But is that all? No. There are more mistakes you must avoid at this point. You need to make sure you deflate your dough either with your pan or a rolling pin. This is to take out all the air in the dough so that when it bakes, you won't have air pockets in your bread. And you bake at 180 degrees Celsius or 375 degrees Fahrenheit at the lower deck of your oven. Specifically, I repeat, at the lower deck of your oven. If you're using a gas oven, bake at the lower deck first before lifting it up. If you're using an electric oven, bake at the lower deck first before lifting it up. You will find out what will happen if you do not obey or if you make this mistake, and how your bread will turn out differently. So this is me. I'm pinching my dough after shaping my bread to the way I like it. I'm going to put it in my pan and allow it to proof before going on now to bake. Now at this point, another mistake you must not make if you want to brush your bread with egg wash, vegetable oil or butter, this is when you should do it. Do not do it after proofing, because if you try it, you will not like the way your bread will come out. Relax, you will find out later on in this video. So this is me. I'm done rolling my bread. Oh. I said I should put it in my pan. And when I put it in my pan, one mind was telling me, brush it with egg mix. I said, no, I will leave it. Let it proof first. And I covered my bread and allow it to proof. And after it has proofed, I was happy. It proved really well. But I made this one mistake. Kai, the mistake pained me, sha. And the way the bread turned out, I did not like it. So after covering my bread with nylon to proof so that the surface of the dough would not be dried, I decided not to brush with egg mix at this stage, which I was supposed to do. And I went on. Look at my bread. It proved beautifully. Not be so. At this stage, if you have gotten to this stage of your bread bar, you should be dancing like, hey, my bread now correct bread. But this one mistake can just spoil everything for you, my sister or my brother. So I went on. Oh, I went to brush with egg mix. When I was brushing, I noticed that the dough was already deflating. But for me to hit this one in and stop, I did not hear. And look at the bread. Look at what it did to the bread. The bread came out deflated at the top. Because I got every of the tips right, every area of the bread came out well. But my dear, the top was flat. It was looking as if somebody knocked the head of the bread. And look at how the bread came out. So do not make this mistake. If you must brush with egg wash, which is not even compulsory, because after baking, when you brush with butter, your bread will come out looking shiny. But because I want to do much, I went to brush, and this good looking bread just spoiled because of that mistake. Oh my God. I wish I had somebody else told me about these tips. So now that you are learning, don't make this mistake I made. I feel like crying now. Another mistake I made when I did another experiment, I went to bake at the center of my oven. I said, does it really matter? And my bread came out with one leg. Look at this bread. Everything seemed okay, but when I lifted it, I turned to the side and I say, wait, why is this bread bending? Why is the waist bending? I baked at the middle part of my oven instead of at the lower deck. And what do you expect? The bread was bent because there was a deep hole at the middle. It didn't proof properly. It was supposed to proof from the top, from the bottom to the top when you bake from under. But I baked at the center of my oven, so the heat was coming from the top. This did not give me a good bread at all. It had a very deep hole. It's the hole that made the other part you can see to sink. To not make this mistake, you should bake at the lower deck of your oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 375 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know if these tips have helped you. If it has, do like, share, and subscribe. And see you in my next one. Bye-bye. Good to have you here. See you next time.